But I must say that I have nothing to do with the house. I'm a simple economist. So the building has been done by true experts. But I would like to raise or directly attach my remarks to David's remarks, because he made very important points here. The financial aspect is a point. The house you see outside would cost roughly, as a house, as it stands, 250,000 or below. So that is much cheaper than the median. And I am currently on the initiative of the Namibian ambassador in Germany doing a scoping study about the potential of such a product or such a project. And you may have noticed that the city of Okahandja already has put aside a piece of land, a large piece of land, to, say, initiate a special economic zone. And my suggestion here is that we not only think about the product as such, but also about innovative financial solutions. So you may think about crowdfunding, you may think about tapping David's fund, you may think about cooperatives, so all sorts of innovative issues here in that respect. We also think about not only building houses there, but also building a training center there, building schools there. And of course, this is an innovative product, and it has to, say, the people have to be convinced to use this product. It's made of sand. So normally you think that houses made of sand are not really stable, but this one is not only made of sand, but also made of sand and chemicals. And the sand is local sand, so it's a local product. So the idea I would like to just plant here is that the Namibian government is, say, not only allowing one of these special economic zones, but several, and there people try different solutions. We discussed special economic zones in a session in the morning, and I think the real interesting thing about special economic zones is that they are flexible, that we can test solutions, and we can then see which solution is the better one and proceed on that avenue, because we don't know in advance which is the best solution. We often need the experience, and it's the cheapest way to gain experience. So my plea here would be in order to address the problem, is to test a lot of different sources, and the entrepreneur and the region of Thuringia has something to offer which I find very attractive, and I've seen that many people have looked into that. It would be lovely to see, say, in a few years' time, a whole area built with houses like this. By the way, talking about affordability, the house can grow with a family. So if you are a couple of two and you want to buy a small house, you get children, you need a larger house, you don't have to move, you just have to build a second store or another room next to the house. So I'm really hoping that this project in Okahandja, initiated by the ambassador, Namibian ambassador to Germany, Mr. Andreas Geingob, will fly, and I wish you all the best in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the key question really is, service land is a problem. We've been struggling with increasing land delivery for the past 6 years. How do we come across that? Clearly the technology is there to build cheaper houses, faster houses, more reliable houses, or even homes for that fact. But yet, how do we overcome the shortage of service land? If any of you have got a solution, by all means go ahead, but maybe the Minister has got more words of wisdom for us.
Yeah, thank you, Moderator. Service land in our country is really a challenge. I should indicate that the rural-urban migration that outstripped the development and the pace how we are doing things is that challenge that we have to tackle. But as we are looking at that, with the investors like this, with the municipalities and the government of the Republic of Namibia, every year on the budget, we are going to receive some funds that would be distributed to various local authorities to enhance the land delivery. But it's not yet enough. And therefore, I think this conference is very important, that with PPPs, we could always join ventures as municipalities and regional council. And therefore, by the end of the day, all of us are engaging in what we call a win-win situation. All of us must gain. Of course, to date, I should say that the government, we have specially taken 3 main town councils or municipalities. That is Walvis Bay, Oshakati, and Windhoek, where the government has put money down for servicing of land, but it's not yet enough. Though my colleague here is saying 300,000 is just a drop, but this is the market that we are having. This is the population that we are having. The size of our population is like that. And this is the animal that we have to deal with. Even if that 300 sounds small, to us as a government is big. And this we have to do together as private sectors and government. And we have to put our money where our mouths are. Thank you.
I found that even in South Africa and in many African countries, one of the issues is that we address the backlog of housing with squatters in cities. In that sense, it's already too late, because in Johannesburg, we have now more than 200 squatter camps. So if we look at rural development and we do sustainable rural development, that is more proactive from doing land availability in cities, because our cities are not meant to carry as many people as they do. So we really, in a sense, we are missing the point by rather taking the development to the rural areas where the rural people are coming to the cities, believing that the city is offering them something unique. Then in combination of the rural development, then obviously our focus should be on food production, because that is where food can be produced as symbiotic with the cities. And if we then put the proper infrastructure like schools and manufacturing operations and health and clinics and so on in the villages, it becomes more sensible to stay in a village than come to an urban city where you have to stay in a shack. So I think that that is how we can address the problem, is look at rural development.
Thank you. David, you wanted to add something?
Look, I think what's important to me is that we don't lose the focus of what our jobs are. You see, it is the minister's job and the president's job to keep the big vision. 300,000 houses are needed. But this country is 26 years old. There are countries that are 200 years old, 500 years old. There are countries that cannot determine their age, and they still need homes. So if we're going to sit in a conference to encourage investment, yes, it is their job to throw that number 300,000 to show us the potential. But I'm here to discuss how we're going to build 300 more houses in one town and 400 more houses in another town, so that we can motivate ourselves from those profits to throw them back into the mix, so that 10 years from now, when I finally have kids and they show up here and they're starting to wonder in school whether their peers have houses, they can say, yes, they do, not because we were discussing, but because we were doing. And what we can do about that, which is something we do in our company, even at the construction site, is we identify a challenge, we set a goal, and we become accountable to it. So as companies, let's all pick up a piece of the puzzle. If I'm servicing 100 plots, because I'm also invested in the development, I'm contributing towards the minister's 300,000 number. And that's what we can do as a private sector. Stop going outside of this room and going out there to discuss 300,000. Go discuss your 100, what you can afford, what you can actually contribute to this economy today.
Thank you, David.
It's
Andreas?
difficult to add more value to the question of servicing the land. But since I'm not a Namibian and I'm not a lawyer, I'm not sure about the legal rules, but I would suggest that the government is considering giving land for free to individuals. If you do that, assigning spots of land to each individual, there will be a demand, because then people at least don't have to pay for the land. They only have to pay for the rest of the house, which is enough, I admit. But then there may be a demand for servicing, and then there will be innovative solutions, PPP solutions. So if the land is there, there's a natural interest by every individual household to start the building process and to initiate new ideas. That would be a political suggestion here.
Thank you. So, all right, so now, if we address the servicing of land, as it's been put out, we've got PPPs, there are JVs, there are alternative methods of delivering or servicing land, and it comes to now building the top structure. Social acceptance is pretty important when it comes to the top structure. What makes you confident that your technology that you're bringing will be socially acceptable, and what have been your experiences so far? No, just that is just to the panel.
I think you mentioned earlier, many times we look at housing and we categorize it wrong, because maybe the minister's task is to deliver 300,000 houses. It's the president's heart that makes him want to uplift his people. But if you put people in a house that they don't find socially acceptable, they in a sense rebel against this product. So what we call is the knock test. When people walk into the house, the first thing they do is knock on the wall. If it doesn't sound familiar and it is foreign, then it is socially unacceptable. Then there is no question about how much, because it is already not socially acceptable, it's inferior according to their criteria, which is the knock test. Only after the knock test is approved, then it is how much. And after that, you will have questions of how long will it last, and can it be extended, can it be altered. So the first criteria to overcome is social acceptance. So what we do with Moladi is when we erect the formwork, we put the windows and the doors and the plumbing and the electricity in position, we mix river sand and cement, and we cast one monolithic block in one day with local unskilled labor. And the next day we remove the formwork, then it's ready for the roof and painting and the windows and doors. Therefore, the product looks like a plastered wall, which is the social aspect of social acceptance. Then, of course, after the social acceptance, it's that person going to the financial institutions like FNB, for instance. So I understand a lot of people have various different products, but the difficulty lies in getting firstly the social acceptance and thereafter the financial services to back this product. Because if the product is sold wrongly to the customer, then the bank takes onus of that product for 20 years or 25 years. If anything happens to the structure, the owner then puts the responsibility squarely on the financial institution. And this is what Moladi has overcome, is because our oldest structure is 30 years old. And we have exported to 24 countries. So we have a phenomenal track record in how we do this. And again, we've just concluded 1,600 square meter courthouses in Tanzania for the president. And this project is funded by the World Bank. So many people design product which they call low-cost housing. We as Moladi don't believe that you have a low-cost housing system. You should have an alternative building system. And an alternative building system should not only build a house, it should build a classroom, it should build a double story, it should build student accommodation, it should build clinics, it should be police stations, it should build all the amenities that brick is currently doing. Otherwise, the market below the brick is really where the market lies, not just where the brick is. And so we have to look at how do we reduce the cost. So with Moladi, we can, in South Africa, we cast a 40 square meter house for 90,000 Rand. That's a 2-bedroom house. Oh, my time's up. Sorry.
Do we have more comments? Or just short, very brief, please.
I'd like to add one thing. If I'm given a microphone, then I would take advantage to propose the following. You know, in the past year, I was honored to be able to attend the One Economy lunch where I learned more firsthand from Honorable President about Harambe's intention. So in the spirit of Harambe, and I don't know who I'm making accountable for this, I'd like to propose that we create a working group whereby people from the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development, people from the private sector, both that bring construction capacity and financing capacity, as well as the financing sector, and everyone should be represented. No one should be left out, because that's what Harambe is about. We all come together and we create a working group that has a thermometer, that we measure our goals on a quarterly basis. And this is not about an anti-monopoly or anti-competition. This is about us coming together to put on the table our issues, because there is no point in people from our company going to the minister and telling her about our problems that she tries her best with her team to try to help us overcome, but we won't be able to unless everyone is sitting on that same table. So I don't know if someone will shoot me on the way out, but I'd like to really propose that we put together this working group. We can give it Harambe Housing Working Group name,